You ever look at some classic album covers and think, I bet there's a story there? Well, not only did Lauren think that, but she looked up some stories and she's going to share them today. So coming up on the channel today, Lauren is going to stop by and share 5 great stories about some iconic album covers coming right up. Hey y'all, it's Russ and Lauren from the Infectious Group podcast, the Beard Owl podcast, and here on the YouTube channel. And speaking of which, Lauren here is wearing some of our sweet new merch. We have a TeePublic store. There's a link in the description. Go buy some things. Help support the channel. As far as today's video goes, like I said, though, there are so many iconic album covers. And even if you take something like The Dark Side of the Moon, which is probably the most iconic album cover of all time, the story of that album cover is not very interesting. It's the Hypnosis came up with some designs. Literally all 4 members of Pink Floyd walked in the room, all pointed at the cover we all know and went, that one, and walked out. So Lauren has far more interesting stories to share with us today than 4 people staring at one picture and going, that. What do you got for us?
So the first one I want to talk about is the Beatles' Rubber Soul album cover. And I remember seeing this as a kid being like, they look weird there. And the story kind of goes that they took kind of conventional photographs that were going to be the cover of the album, and the photographer was projecting them onto a piece of cardboard that was like roughly the size of what the album would be, and the cardboard tipped over a little bit and distorted the projection, and the Beatles were like, it's like Rubber Soul, and they're like, let's do that.
Yeah, and even I'm not the world's most observant person with the Beatles, but like the first time I saw that album cover when I was a kid, I was like, oh, that's dope. It's like stretched out like rubber, you know, or whatever. And it totally not the intention when they took the picture. Which is rad.
Happy accidents, and I kind of love that. And sidebar to that, apparently, I haven't tried this, but if you take the cover for Rubber Soul and flip it upside down and put it against a mirror, the words Rubber Soul say Road Abbey.
Oh, huh. How about that?
Yeah.
Someday Lauren's going to share the story with us of the iconic White Album cover, which I don't know how they got that photo. That's beautiful.
Yeah, it's white.
I joke. What what else do you got for us?
The next one is Breakfast in America by Supertramp. And this album cover, I always thought it was super cool.
This album cover, first of all, it is cool. But for me, as a little kid, this is like, as soon as I see this album cover, it reminds me instantly of the Columbia House or BMG music service, because it was always featured at like near the top where they would always have then they always had the faux fake stack cassettes, but always Breakfast in America. And I purposely didn't read through your notes for this because I want to know the stories myself.
Yeah.
How do we end up with this album cover?
So originally, the art director was going to go with a more pinup style kind of model for it, but they ended up going with a woman from This Is Real, the Ugly Model Agency. And the whole point of it kind of was that like the band Supertramp were kind of experiencing the gluttony of America for the first time, and that's like they wanted to kind of show that in the cover of the album. And the woman who was the model for it ended up going on tour with them and announcing the band from stage every
That's
night.
awesome.
So I just think that's super cool.
Heck yeah. So we got a happy accident and a very purposeful cover so far. What else do we got?
David Bowie, Young Americans. And the story behind this has nothing to do with the album cover that we actually got. It has to do with the album cover that David Bowie wanted. David Bowie wanted a Norman Rockwell painting to be the cover of this album because he thought the juxtaposition of kind of what he is all about and what Norman Rockwell is all about would have been really cool.
I concur.
So David Bowie got Norman Rockwell's phone number. Norman Rockwell's wife answers the phone, and David Bowie, says, I would like for this to happen. And she goes, I'm sorry, Norman requires 6 months to do portraits, so we're going to have to say no.
Solid. Great.
And so we get what we got.
Yeah. And this one actually reminds me of, in hearing this story from you, very quick note, I guess this could be kind of a bonus one, is with Guns N' Roses' Appetite for Destruction, most people know that there was an original cover and that was censored, and then we ended up with the cross cover. What most people don't know is that the the original cover, I don't want to say what occurs, but the original cover, what people refer to as the original cover, wasn't the original cover. The original cover concept for Appetite for Destruction was the Challenger exploding. And they didn't even get to putting that down on paper.
Oh.
And then the compromise was the cover that ended up getting censored anyways. But that's what makes me think, like, Bowie's like, oh, I have this great idea, and didn't work out.
Nope.
So we got 2 more
Yes.
to go. Tell us more stories.
Okay. The next one is Led Zeppelin's Physical Graffiti. And I mean, you know what it is. It's tenement buildings, right? And it's actually a real building in...
I went there.
You did go there. But here's the thing. It's a real building in New York City's West Village, but the actual building is 5 stories. The 4th story was removed so it would fit on the cover of the album.
Right,
So
right.
it exists, but it doesn't really exist.
Right. That's when I went to it. I was like, wait, what? And then I
Yeah.
had to look up I
Yeah.
didn't know that until I went there and was like, this ain't right.
Yeah, it's
But that's
it's
cool
wild.
that they just,
They cut it.
Just took it out to make it fit the 12 by 12 of the frame. But yeah, you can go see that building. It's just going to look a little different than you're going to be like, this isn't 4 by 3 though.
No, it's going to be taller.
Right. So we've gone through some big names. Who do you got to round us out?
Yes.
Go on. No.
It's the Who.
Right.
Who do you see what I did there?
Yep.
Who's Next album cover. We all know it. It's, I thought this was great. So the Who are driving around the countryside trying to figure out what the heck they're going to do for the cover of this
Right.
album. And then they see these, concrete block pillar things sitting out there. They're like, oh, let's do that. So they all stop. And Pete gets the idea to
Relieve himself.
relieve himself on it. And
We're saying what we can to avoid certain things, YouTube.
yes.
But yes, it feels the need to relieve himself.
On it. And so that was the concept, but Pete was the only one who could actually do it. So to achieve the desired effect, rainwater was put in an empty film canister and just kind of poured on it. So it's mostly water except for pee.
Yeah. So it's like,
Pete.
hey, this is a rebellious thing that we couldn't even really do.
Right.
Like it's kind of like we're kind of being rebellious, but also that's fake.
Also, yeah, it's fake
Yeah.
rebellion, faux rebellion.
Yeah. That is 5 cool stories about album covers. And of course, we can revisit this topic over and over because there's a million iconic albums. Let us know in the comments what some of your favorite iconic records are, and maybe we'll use that as follow up to look into the stories and share them and everything. So if this is your first time with us, hit subscribe because we're a joy. And we have several music videos, discussion videos every week. Hit the like button if you like what we're doing here. If you don't like what we're doing here, just move on. You don't have to hit the dislike button. But make sure to get in the comments, and we would love to hear from you. And as we always say, thank you so much for watching.